Hello there. If you missed yesterday's content update, be sure to click this big thing I'm going to put in the middle of the screen, if annotations still exist on YouTube. Because to be honest, I'm so out of the loop when when Google just decides to make little changes to YouTube. I really don't know what they've put in or what they've taken out. So, all I'm going to say is if you can still do annotations, then I'm going to put a big annotation here in the middle. If I can't, then there will be a link in the description. So, I'm not going to waste any more of your time here, but I'm kind of gonna waste more of your time because now it's time for the video coming up. A total time waster, you may call it.
Looks all clear now.
Nice. Let's hurry. We don't want to miss Simmons.
Oh, well, that was different. Hello there, this is RichG234, and I'm trial running this series I just came up with now called the Daily Blab, and it's just going to be, if you've watched Review Tech USA, Alpha Megasin, any of those guys, or anyone who kind of talks about topics on YouTube, I'm basically stealing their gig. And can we please give it up for Leon Kennedy's hairstyle, seriously, in this game? Okay, back to being serious. So the game you're watching in the background is Resident Evil 6 for the PlayStation 4. This originally came out on the PS3 and the 360. It's not a good game, but you can have fun with it if you stick with the mercenaries mode, but the campaign itself it's pretty bad. And I like the port. I talked about it a bit in the previous video, but yeah, let's just quickly go on to the topic that I'm going to discuss, and that is the Xbox 360. So you may have heard the news recently that the Xbox 360 was discontinued. It has finally been pulled by Microsoft. You can still buy them, but they're not going to be making any more, and that's kind of sad, because it kind of means the end of an era. I mean, the Xbox is 10 years old this year, so it's kind of heartbreaking to see it kind of go. Now, I'm going to be honest, when it comes to the Xbox 360, I had a few for a very short amount of time, but I have some memories with the Xbox 360. I'll explain, actually. The Xbox 360 is what introduced me to the kind of the next gen back then gaming, so I remember we were visiting a friend of my mother's, and he happened to have an Xbox 360, and I had a go on two games. The games he had were Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter and Burnout Paradise. Burnout Paradise is still one of my favorite games of all time. But I remember I played Advanced Warfighter first, and I remember there was a level, I think it was the sun was setting in the level, and you're in a helicopter, and you're kind of just looking at this beautiful sunset, and it's like, wow, this looks amazing, and I was stunned. I didn't think the games could look that good. I wasn't really exposed to PC gaming, but I was just amazed by how good the game looked at the time, and it was a fun game to play, Ghost Recon. Not my kind of game, but it had fun elements to it. Burnout Paradise was absolutely brilliant, a fantastic racer, a game that was underappreciated in my opinion. I think people just didn't buy it, and unfortunately EA never really made another Burnout. Well, they kind of turned the Need for Speed series into Burnout, but yeah, that was my first exposure to the 7th generation consoles, and it was pretty awesome, I gotta admit. It was And I think I didn't get a 360 right away. I got a PS3 when that came out, but that didn't last very long because it broke. You see, the early PS3s were kind of made, they were held together with bits of string. And yeah, I had a 360. I had a few of them. I'm trying to remember. I got a 360 to play Halo 3 and Halo Reach, which I got for Christmas. Halo Reach, and I remember it was one of the biggest disappointments. It was probably the most disappointing thing I had ever gotten since Driver 3, and yeah, I didn't like Halo Reach. I got the collector's edition, and it came in a really nice box and everything. But yeah, getting to play Halo 3 was pretty awesome, because Halo 3 is an amazing game. It was the last good Halo, in my opinion. I haven't played 4 or 5, so I can't exactly say if it is the best. I think it's the best one, but I don't know, I haven't played the others. But yeah, I mean, the 360 kind of gave us all the things that a lot of the things we're used to today. I mean, digital distribution kind of only really existed on the PC, and even then it was in its very early infancy when the 360 came out. So when Microsoft brought in Xbox Live Arcade, that was something big. I mean, here you could play there were arcade games being ported to XBLA. There were these really cool, interesting indie games that you wouldn't have had access to on the consoles. Well, you kind of would see games by smaller studios, but they would be budget titles and they wouldn't be great. Well, you would get the odd good one. But the 360 it introduced so much to us, and to be honest, I'm very thankful for a lot of the things it gave us, and it had a lot of great games. I mean, you have the original Dead Rising. You have, to be honest, Gears of War, not my thing, but of course, a very important game for a lot of people. Halo, Deadly Premonition came out on the 360 exclusively first, before it came to PS3. Left 4 Dead only came out on the 360 on consoles. Just so many franchises came out in the 360, and Microsoft did a really smart thing. I mean, they were smart to bring the Xbox 360 first, but they were smart with the way they priced it. I mean, the problem with the PS3 was when it came out originally, it came out for an astronomical price, and not a whole lot of people bit, and unfortunately, PS3 started and ended on the back foot, and due to the complicated kind of architecture of the processors and the graphics unit, the PS3 was very hard to develop for because of how complicated it was, and because of this, a lot of the ports to PS3 were pretty poor, and that kind of continued for a while, though. Developers became much more comfortable with the hardware, and the ports started to get better. Actually, funnily enough, the PS3 version of Oblivion is probably the best version of Oblivion, which is funny because we all know how Bethesda games have had the PS3 and Bethesda don't seem to really get along. I mean, Skyrim was pretty bad on PS3, I know from experience, and the Fallout games were pretty wonky on PS3. They weren't that great on Xbox 360 either, but they were a little more stable. So yeah, so the 360, I mean, it just had a lot of great games, and it's kind of sad to see this Titan kind of finally go, because I've been so used to the 360 being around. It's kind of weird that it's gone now in a way. But in a way, I suppose we have to evolve, and I mean, we're now shifting. We have focus now on the PS4 and Xbox One. I mean, is there anything major that's coming out on the PS3 and the 360 apart from the next FIFA and Pro Evo games and the Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens game? I don't think so. So it makes sense, I guess, that the consoles are getting slowly discontinued. Now I'm just waiting for the PS3 to get discontinued. It's already been discontinued in a few countries. New Zealand is one country that it's been discontinued in. So I'm just waiting for the inevitable announcement that the PS3 is going to be discontinued. So yeah, it's sad to see the 360 go, but it's kind of left a lasting legacy, and Unfortunately, Microsoft didn't start off the next gen the way they started off with the 360. They unfortunately were in Sony's position this time, but unlike Sony with the PS3, Microsoft are actually starting to slowly claw their way back. Sony with the PS3 never really did that. It had moments where they kind of improved things a little bit, but the 360 had a much more stable online with the Xbox Live. The PS3 had inferior ports, which kind of happened a lot of the time. I mean, even some of my favorite games, there were some pretty wonky ports, like Deadly Premonition. The PS3 port's pretty wonky, so I mean, yeah. But yeah, I would just like to thank Microsoft for giving us the Xbox 360, because it was a fantastic system. It introduced so many things that we kind of take for granted now in console gaming, and I think it has earned a well-deserved rest. And the good thing is, I mean, Microsoft are keeping the legacy of the Xbox 360 still going with the backwards compatibility on Xbox One. So, yeah, that's pretty cool, and yeah, I'm very sad to see the Xbox 360 go, even though it wasn't my platform of choice. I know for a lot of people it was their platform of choice, and yeah, it's gonna suck that it's gone. I mean, I even remember my friend has a 360, and I would always go up to his house and we'd play Stuntman Ignition together, and that would always be really fun. So yeah, I have little memories with the 360 that I'm gonna kind of miss about it, and yeah, I'm just waiting for the PS3 to get discontinued any day now. It's all the balls in your court now, Sony. What are you gonna do? So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's just me kind of babbling on about the Xbox 360's demise. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope I didn't bore you to death with these really uninteresting stories, and to be honest, as I said at the start of the video, I've probably wasted your time, but hey, I mean, you got to see some of Resident Evil 6 on PS4, and now you don't need to. You've probably seen it already somewhere else, but do me a favor, if you want to play Resident Evil 6, wait for it to go on sale. Don't buy it now, because, I mean, €20 is not an awful price, because you do get a lot of game, but the thing is, the campaign is a bit... Leon's is the strongest, it has a great start, but later on it just gets really frustrating and annoying. Chris's is the worst, it plays like a really bad Gears of War clone. Jake's it's and I never finished Ada's, so when I originally played the game, so I can't exactly comment on whether that's any good, but I hear it's okay. I think the most fun you'll get out of RE6 is playing with your friends on the Mercenaries mode, and there's a lot of multiplayer modes they introduced through DLC that are included with the PS4 version. I'm impressed at how well it runs. The 60 FPS really benefits the game. I mean, the cutscenes run beautifully, the game runs beautifully. I don't think it ever drops a frame. If it does, I haven't noticed it. So I gotta give Capcom credit for doing a pretty decent port. They actually put effort into making it a good version, so... It is the definitive version next to the PC version, but I still wouldn't recommend it, not at its current price point. I would say wait for a price drop if you really want to give it a go, but then again, I would say just save your money and buy Resident Evil Revelations 2. It's a much better game, it's cheaper, and to be honest, it gives you a mercenary-style mode with the raid mode, and you can play that in online co-op, so... Yeah, and you can even play the campaign in split-screen co-op, so... Yeah, I would just get Revelations 2 instead. That's my recommendation of the day. But thank you very much for tuning into the Daily Blab. And yeah, there's not much else to say. And I apologize for wasting your time again. But you know what? With Richard, you get a lot of time wasting. It's why I'm not allowed to play sports anymore. So anyway, poor joke aside, thank you very much for watching. And enjoy the fact that I've uploaded another video quite so soon, because I might not upload one for probably several years, so if you're watching this in the future, like I said in the previous video, hello, and potato to you. Goodbye.